prisoner. I'm here to negotiate.
We have no problem killing your son.
I dare you to go after Charles.
Who said anything about Charles? All these years, you were hiding someone else.
Bruce, our family is head of the Jade Dragons.
So we're like criminals. You could have told me that.
We were trying to keep you safe.
Yeah, nice fucking work.
The family is under attack. Some new gang wants to take our place. It's time for my brother to step up.
I don't want to be a gangster. What if I just want to do what I want?
We have a word for that in Taiwan. American.
Our enemies are coming after you to get to me.
I'm starting to think that neither of us really know Mom at all.
Don't question her.
I am still your mother.
Tell me what I want to know.
Or,
I'm going to tattoo a penis on your face.
okay.
You go, girl. Get what's yours.
Or don't go, girl. Or at least pause, girl.
Which brother are you? The killer or the dipshit?
Take action and end this.
I don't think we've ever hugged before.
You're probably gonna die, so might as well get one in before you go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NRW, where nerds rule the world. I am Heather Hurt, here with, and I do apologize ahead of time, Kevin Tancharoen. Is that even close?
Oh, yeah, you know what? That was very close. It's Tancharoen.
Okay.
Actually, it's visually more intimidating than it actually is, because if you read it, it's actually phonetic. Tancha and then Rowan. So, but yeah, I've had tarantula, Tancharoen. And actually, a lot of people don't even think it's Asian. They read it and they go, "Oh, didn't think it was an Asian last name." But yeah, it's a Thai last name, very long.
Oh God, if it's phonetic, that makes sense. But I try to do one of those things where I try to do my research, and there's that role that many people of Asian descent say, and I'm like,
yeah. Well, it's just to pronounce it correctly in the Thai way is very different, but here in the U.S. it's just pretty much Tancharoen.
Okay, all right. Kevin Tancharoen, who is the director of 5 of the 8 episodes of the upcoming Netflix series The Brother's Son, which comes out on Thursday, January 4th. The entire series does premiere, featuring everyone's favorite Michelle Yeoh, Sam Lee, and Justin Chien. So tell us about how did this come to you? How did this fun little family, martial arts, all of the above kind of story come into your lap?
Well, I was actually already working with Netflix on an international project called Thai Cave Rescue, where it was about exactly what the title suggests, which is about the incident in Thailand and the kids and the rescue. And I was sent this script by my representatives, because I was looking for something that felt close to home. I wanted something that felt personal, but I also wanted to be done in a genre bubble. Like, the mantra that I've always used was, get me anything that is a larger than life story, but from a suburban lens, or from a grounded lens. And so this one came, they said, you might be of interest to this because of the tone. And when I read it, immediately I just felt like the shades of Kill Bill meets Barry were just completely coming off the page, and those are 2 of my favorite things. But also, most specifically, the family story and the Asian American story specifically is something that I gravitated towards because I was born and raised in LA. So the story of one brother being Asian American and the other being from home was something very interesting, because it's a duality that I know that I have balanced my entire life. even more so in my adult years. So when I was able to realize that there was a nuanced character family story here, but set in a larger than life world of make-believe Taiwanese gangsters and really cool music and really cool characters, I was like, okay, this is great. And fight choreography that allows you to have comedy embedded in it, because I will say up until now, most of my action sequences or have been asked of me have been very serious or have been to make the superhero look really cool, right? Knock them down, hit a pose, and stop. For this one, we were able to tell more of a story, of a character story. I often refer to The Incredibles as an example, not as far as tone is concerned, but as far as concept, because every one of their action sequences was arguably family therapy for all of them.
That's fair.
You know, and the more that they connected, the more successful they were, because it was about working together by the end of it. So that was what I really was attracted to when I read it.
This is of course, you've had an incredible filmography. If you aren't basically doing it side by side like I am, go check Kevin's IMDb. He's got an incredible filmography, including many a superhero story. And one thing that often comes off it's literally in the biography of your IMDb is you like to do shows and stories that require a good amount of choreography, a good amount of time and effort on the actor's part. Do you enjoy directing those types of films or films and television? Do you enjoy more physical work?
I think I naturally do, just by way of my background. Is I actually come from choreography, more specifically dance choreography, because I used to be a choreographer for the pop world, and I grew up doing martial arts, and I think I just naturally gravitate towards anything that has physicality in it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be dancing or fighting, but even with camera work, I do tend to love when the camera is moving and when it's in synchronization with the actors on screen. So blocking large groups of ensemble shows or movies is fun for me, actually. So like I'm getting to go and do that very soon as well, another show that's about a group of people, and I feel comfortable like with that. And when it comes to fight choreography specifically on film, it's just another dance at the end of the day, right? It's two people learning how to partner with each other, or a group of people learning how to dance together and not get hurt and make it look brutal. So I think I naturally gravitate towards those types of things and those types of stories because of the energy and the things that I grew up with and my background. It just kind of naturally, organically lends itself to liking that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the fighting sequences themselves. There was a lot of that classic action one-on-one fighting style, which, you've got the one guy coming at the main character constantly, especially when we have Charles going at him. But was that on purpose? Were you looking at classic, not only classic Western fighting, but classic Asian films when you were doing those types of choreography scenes?
Absolutely.
Not you, of course, doing the choreography. Sorry.
Yeah. No. When we were talking about the choreography, I worked with someone that I love working with, a guy named Justin Yu, who was our stunt coordinator, and he brought his amazing team of colleagues and choreographers, and we all spoke the same language, and we had a lot of the same references. We did reference a lot of Eastern movies because of I think there's a rhythm to Eastern fighting that is different than Western fighting. Usually, like in US movies or West movies, the rhythm is a little bit more hulking and brutal. It's like boom, crash, bound, and then beat. But when you think about more Bruce Lee, even Donnie Yen or Jackie Chan, there's a musicality to them that it's really hard to explain. Like Bruce Lee will do something really fast, but then stop, and then have a little moment of a look, and then da-da-da-da-da. boom, so it's all those those really cool sound design elements. So we wanted to make sure that we had some of that in there, and it wasn't just all crashing and brutality. There was a little bit of flair to it, but at the end of the day, we needed our character to make it out alive. So the messiness was also important. The fact that he does get hit and it does have him go out of breath, and sometimes his emotions get the best of him. He's not perfect. So that was also something to take into consideration while coming up with all of these set pieces. But it was a delicate dance because we wanted to make sure that it had its own unique identity at the same time.
Oh, wonderful. You can really tell that there were some scenes, especially, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a certain party and a whole bunch of characters involved, and Charles he's just the looks, the one-on-ones, and then his looks following his brother is just it's great. Love it.
Yeah, he's great. It's great. It's great. I had so much fun with that one that you're talking about. So it
was great. It's just I felt a lot of like those classic. When I was first watching like my first Eastern films, like my first real true kung fu and karate films, I was like, I just feel that in this. I just wanted to make sure
that's a massive compliment, because we talked about Shaw Brothers all day long, right? So it's
yeah.
We grew up in all that stuff, so it's just it's all nostalgia for us, and we just want to make sure that we're adding our own flair to it and still paying homage at the same time.
Wonderful. One word I'm really going to pull out of your last statement, though, is music. The music in the show is very particular. It's a great blend of genres and of all sorts of great music. How did y'all come upon about what y'all decided to use, or were you? Here's a big question: were you part of that set?
Yeah, no. A big part of my pitch for the whole series was that music was a character. There were two things that I felt like should be equally as important as a human being on screen, and that was the music, and actually three things. Second one would be location. So the San Gabriel Valley, to me, needed to be treated like the way Albuquerque was treated in Breaking Bad. Right? It's definitely an element of the story, the location, and food was the third thing that was really important. But it's music.
So hungry.
Music was always super important because I just felt like I know that I gravitate towards shows and movies that have a really strong foundation of a music characterization. So did Byron, and especially, and Brad, all of his stuff has really incredible music in it. So when we talked about it, you know what? I'm really inspired by the way Edgar Wright uses music, and Tarantino and Scorsese, and obviously Drive, I thought was a great soundtrack because it was so much like the sound of it was equal to the visuals in its own way. So, and we had made this observation that when it came to Asian American properties, that usually the blend with hip hop is the go-to thing to do, right? Usually, and I'm a huge fan of that, and our show has that as well. But I didn't want to be constricted or confined to that. Like, we should be able to explore other genres of music or other covers of songs and give it its own unique identity. And I really got to say, we definitely didn't touch on, but like Tarantino can use 10 different genres of music and it still feels cohesive. And that is a massive skill. So we got, I think, the best music supervisor, Angela, and she killed it. And our composers were able to match it with the score because I wanted to make sure that there was a organic synergy between needle drops and composition. So Nathan and Nick and Angela were like our crack team of sonic creators for this show.
It was great. You can really feel it. There's this great scene when they're in a warehouse and you can just feel it. There's a great scene where they're up front and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sad, but I'm so invested in this now.
Great.
I want to shift a little bit more to the directing side. I know I'm kind of talking all around it, but you did 5 of the 8 episodes. And it's not like you did the first 5 or the last 5. You did 2 here, 1 there, 2 here. You and Viet Nguyen were the two directors. How does it feel to, what do you have to do to play off each other to make sure there is that cohesion, especially when you're kind of doing, like, I'm not doing this set, I'm doing like right in the middle and in between?
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that we found a perfect partner to come into, because like, me, Brad, and Byron and our team, we just were all in sync with each other as far as the tone. So when we met Viet, he was just the perfect addition, because it was almost like he was already part of the whole entire group. And we worked together great. Like, we were able to share a lot of notes. I did the first 2 episodes and then he did the third one. And we wanted to make sure that it all felt like one universe, but still had room to play as far as individual choices are made. So we were just in constant communication, and when you just are able to work with people who are like-minded, it kind of comes easily, So it was almost like I knew Viet years, or I'd worked with him for years before this. I actually had met him in Vancouver very briefly when we crossed paths on like Legends of Tomorrow. And we were like, oh yeah, eventually we got to work together. But sometimes that never happens. So it was great that you cut to 5, 6, 7 years. I don't even know how long years later. And we were able to collaborate on this and on a personal story too, right? Like, he was able to jump in and put his voice in there when it comes to the story about growing up as an Asian American. So all of our experiences are kind of put into this show and told through the lens of the family.
Awesome. Good. And you can tell, by the way, it doesn't feel, or sorry, you can't tell that there are 2 directors. That should be the right word.
Great.
So when you talk about putting your story into these, I don't think you're part of a triad. If you are, I should probably not be asking that question. But what small things did you personally want other people of Asian American or Asian descent to recognize? There was a great conversation with American-born Chinese. There was a lot of like special small things on like the refrigerator and stuff like that only certain people who grew up within that lifestyle would understand. What small little things did you put in there just for yourself?
Well, they're kind of spread out, but the 3 that in my mind immediately were the obvious: take your shoes off, right? So there are nods to that in the first episode quite a bit, just as far as like the importance of it and just how common it is when it comes to Asian households and Asian American. You take your shoes off. That's what happened. Another is a condiment drawer. So like all takeout, and this, I think, because my family grew up with this, so I'm assuming a lot of other families grew up with this too, because when people were on set, they were like, oh yeah, my family has that. And it's just a drawer full of takeout sauces. So if I went to Jack in the Box, I'm saving the taco sauce. If I went to Chinese food, I'm saving the soy sauce and the sambal. Like, it's just a big drawer of that. So in the opening episode, when Bruce comes home and he's hungry, he does what I do. He opens up and sees what hot sauce he has. And my personal favorite is the Jack in the Box taco sauce. For some random reason, I put it on a lot of things. So that's in there. And then you'll notice a bunch of calendars in the background as well. Calendars that you get for free, usually around the holiday time. But if you look closely, you'll notice that all the years are off in the background.
Okay. We'll need to go back and rewatch.
You put them up and you leave it there. Like, you just don't replace it ever. So like, you'll notice, like, if you really look at it, you'll be, oh yeah, that date's incorrect.
There are far too many of us who are who have done that and just
there's gonna be a lot of little things in there that you're gonna notice, and it's all there, even down to like, but I think this clip is online already, but like Michelle's one of her first lines after after seeing her son for the first time in like a decade, the first thing she kind of says to him is, "Your beard looks terrible," which is it's oddly common for that comment to come out. Like, see, I've gotten it before, and so with the main character, when Justin, aka Chairleg, Charles sees his mom, that's like the first thing she says. So hopefully all of these things will get those chuckles, because if you know, you know.
True. I mean, we have a lot of relation. I'm Jewish, and there's a lot of relation between this this conversation.
I have that conversation very often with some of my best friends who are Jewish, and we commiserate over the similarities in certain cultural aspects that is quite funny. We laugh about them all the time.
It's great. It's so much fun. I have to ask this. I'm sorry, this is one of my last questions, but you gotta love hearing how great she is. So please tell me, what was it like working with Michelle Yeoh? Just tell me.
I will say, first I was very intimidated, right? When just the concept of meeting and working with her was intimidating, because I had obviously been a massive fan. I've watched everything she's been in. I remember finding the DVD for Silverhawk in like a random comic book store and being like, oh my God. And then I went through all her filmography after that. But the second you meet her, she feels like a family member. It's like, I feel like she gave auntie energy in about 5 minutes, right? So I was so nervous, but then she kind of just naturally makes you feel comfortable. Like, oh, oh yeah, okay, great. I can be open and not be afraid of suggestions or opinions. And she's very smart. She always knows exactly what the intention is for what she's about to say, and she comes prepared. So she's very collaborative, and she's just welcoming. And you were able to see that not only on screen, but off screen, because she was very generous with her time with our younger actors, and she always wanted to hang out. So if there was ever a weekend, she would invite people over and just bond with them. And I mean, what a treat, to be able to bond with Michelle Yeoh and, have a good meal and chat and laugh. And so she's definitely a host, and she made everyone feel comfortable, which is so important when setting the tone on set. So if she sets that tone, everyone else falls in line.
Wonderful. I was actually going to time how long it took us to get to Auntie. I was like, in every single
right away.
In all of my interviews and everything I've done, it's always in like the first 30 seconds.
Auntie energy is very strong. Yeah, she immediately like makes you feel comfortable, and you're like, oh, cool, okay, great. I feel much more at ease now.
Well, here's my final question, and it kind of involves that. We have Michelle Yeoh, who has such let's talk about a historied filmography.
Yep.
How do you work with, as a director, how do you work with someone who is, I don't want to use the word, I mean, she's talented, but has such a historied past and knows what she's doing, or I'm not talking about her specifically, or people who think they know what they're doing, mixed in with a slightly newer cast. How do you come at that as a director?
I think it's just like everyday life, right? There's no one way to deal with every person. It's, and I find a lot of in that, finding ways to work with individual people to get the best version of their performance to that person. Now with Michelle, like I said, she's prepared and she really understands nuance and reads between the dialogue, and even sometimes had word changes, and they were always incredibly thoughtful. So when it came to her, it was always collaborative. She would have an idea and it would 99% of the time be correct. But sometimes if there was something that we had to protect for the future, a foreshadowing comment or a look that was important for now because it's going to highlight an insecurity that will pay off later. Like, she heard all of that and was like, oh, okay, great. And she also wasn't afraid to try certain things too. Like if it was silly, she would try it. So I think with her, it was all about, actually with everyone, it's about collaborating and letting them feel like they have space, because the last thing you want an actor to do is feel like they're confined, because then you won't get an honest performance or a relaxed one. That's for sure. So just making them feel as comfortable supported, and leaving the floor open to them. Because usually I'll come to set with a pretty big idea on what has to happen in the scene and also what the blocking is. Like, this person needs to go here. But if an actor feels very strongly and there's a emotional reason behind it, then more often than not, they're correct, because they're thinking about their character, whereas I'm trying to take care of the bigger picture.
It's a great way to look at it. Very open. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Very much. I'm not saying that I have or have not already seen it all, but for those of you out there, The Brother's Son does arrive on Netflix, all 8 episodes, on January 4th. Can't believe it's already almost 2024. But by the time this releases, I can't believe it's 2024. It
will be. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And make sure you like, subscribe, and all those important things down there below. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see y'all later.
Thank you.